I swear to God, what's wrong with soda? Pour it from a bottle, you get a glass full of foam, almost no drink. Crack open a shaken can, it blows up in your face and you get all wet, and not even in a fun way. Oh, deities of the science of food! Is there any way I can sidestep this mildly irritating thing that plagues my every waking moment?
Maybe? I don't know.
Ugh, okay, whatever, I'll do it myself. This is MinuteFood. Okay, calming down. I've been complaining about soda because I drink a lot of it. I'm like 30% made of soda. But this actually happens with a bunch of other drinks too. Champagne and sparkling wine are foam fiends of their own, and beer not only does all of the above, but will also foam over at the slightest tap of one bottle with another. Where's all that foam coming from? Well, foam is just a bunch of bubbles hanging out together, and in order to get bubbles you need gas. And all these drinks, soda, champagne, beer, are carbonated. They've got a bunch of gassy carbon dioxide dissolved in them, but like a bunch of it, like way more than there should be. Typically, when you dissolve some substance like salt in water, the water will keep dissolving the salt you throw into it until there's so much of it that the water just can't dissolve anymore. At this point, the water is saturated with salt. If you try to add more to it, the salt will just plop down at the bottom. But the amount of salt you can dissolve depends on a whole bunch of factors. And by playing around with factors like pressure and temperature, you can sort of trick the water into accepting more salt than it otherwise would have. When that happens, we have a supersaturated solution. That's exactly what all these foamy drinks are. Supersaturated solutions, holding on to more carbon dioxide than they normally would be able to. These drinks are either pumped with CO2 or they generated naturally through fermentation. But the key here is that it all happens at a high pressure, which tricks the water into holding all that extra gas. That you hear when you open a bottle of soda is all that pressure being released back to our good old atmospheric pressure. And now these supersaturated drinks become fragile. After all, the water shouldn't be able to hold so much gas at this pressure. But in order to release the gas, you need to create a bubble, and creating a bubble requires breaking the drink's surface tension somehow, which is hard. So the gas is essentially trapped by the power of surface tension and just sits there waiting for any excuse to bubble away. One such excuse is the little air pockets already present within the little crevices and imperfections on the inside of the glass. While creating a bubble from scratch is really hard, the sides of any glass or container come with roughnesses and crevices which offer pre-made air pockets, which, well, you don't have to create. They're already there. So the gas starts trickling in, from being dissolved into drink to joining the air pocket, and the air pocket grows and grows until it gets big enough for a bubble to break away, and the whole process starts again. You can actually see this process in a champagne glass. See all the little streams of bubbles that are like rising from the bottom? They're coming from roughnesses, from dust specks and imperfections in the glass, what we call nucleation sites. Another excuse gas finds to bubble away is the general sloshing around of the liquid. When you pour a drink from a bottle, the liquid crashes and flows and mixes with air, creating bubbles of its own, which then the extra gas in the drink will join in order to escape. That's why you'll see most bartenders tilting the glass when pouring beer. The gentler the fall, the fewer disturbances and the less foam we're gonna get. The right angle will give you just the right amount of foam. Bartenders actually do the same by letting like carbonated drinks gently spiral down these like twirly spoon thingies. But you know, even if you're not bartending, you can still apply this principle at home with any drink. Temperature, I should say, is another big factor here. The hotter your drink or your glass is, the more its molecules will be moving around, making the water have a harder time holding onto its gas and therefore letting more of it bubble away. A hot beer simply foams more than a cold one. Plus, it tastes like pee, and not even in a fun way. But even if you do everything right, some drinks will just foam more than others because of all the extra ingredients they have, which mess with things like the drink's surface tension and viscosity. This is why beer foams much more and for much longer than soda. And even the same soda will foam differently depending on the exact brand and the exact manufacturer. Some will just be more chemically prone to have these huge foam heads that just won't go away. Fortunately though, there's one trick to vanquish all foams. Stick your finger! That's right, by sticking your finger there, the oils naturally present in your finger mess with the surface tension of the bubbles in the foam, breaking them apart and freeing the oils to go pop another bubble, and another, until you end up killing the entire head of foam. Look at that! Some people even recommend rubbing your finger on your nose to make it extra oily. What? What do you mean people might find this gross?
I don't know.
Look, I've seen y'all do filthier stuff than that. Maybe don't do this if you're serving drinks to other people, but like nobody's gonna die. You'll be fine. But the one thing my foam fighting finger can't do is prevent the explosion of a shaken can. No, a shaken... The explosion of a shaken can. Just like pouring, shaking a can jostles the drink around, mixing it with the gas inside the can and forming bubbles in the process. The can is pressurized, so nothing happens yet. You stop shaking and everything should return to its place. Some bubbles though stay stuck to the walls of the can, and when you open the can and the pressure drops, all of a sudden these little bubbles become the perfect nucleation site to create more bubbles, which rise suddenly, dragging liquid along with it and making a whole mess in the process. The internet says that tapping the walls of the can helps dislodge the bubbles stuck in there and prevents the explosion. And you know, when I read this, I was like, oh, that's great, like a simple, nice, science-backed hack. But then I ran across this paper which studied this phenomenon in shaken beer cans, and apparently it doesn't make that much of a difference. Granted, it's a preprint, so it hasn't been peer-reviewed, so you should take it with a grain of salt. Plus, I have some concerns about the way the experiment was performed, and actually I've tried this at home with soda cans and it seems to work. So maybe this is something that works for soda but not for a beer? Even the paper seems to think that this is a possibility. Problem is, nobody has done a scientific study specifically on soda cans, not one that I've been able to find at least, so why don't we try to do one ourselves? You and me, together. I mean, I don't think we're gonna get to the cover of Nature or anything, but I'm just curious. Do you want to help out? If you do, I'll leave more detailed instructions in the description, and if you don't, the instructions are still gonna be there, I don't know what to tell you. In any case, you're gonna leave a few identical cans of soda overnight, then shake one and shake then tap the other, and measure the mess you make when you open each one. I'd love to wade through the fire and the data to make a follow-up video and tell you something good about this sweet thing, this mystery of bubbles that is a shaken can. Oh my god!
Hey, Kate here, and that info is going to revolutionize my relationship with bubbles. But I know that fizzy drinks probably aren't the biggest problem on your mind. I, for one, feel like I'm entering the new year with some baggage I just can't shake. If you're feeling the same way, you should check out this video's sponsor, BetterHelp, which can provide the mental space you need to move into the year grounded and clear-headed by providing affordable, personalized therapy online. I know therapy can be intimidating. That has always been an issue for me, but BetterHelp makes it so easy. Just fill out a questionnaire and you'll be matched with a therapist in as little as a few days. And if it's not the right fit, you can switch therapists anytime just by clicking a button. No stress, no awkward conversations. And right now, if you click the link in the description or go to betterhelp.com/MinuteFood, you can get 10% off your first month of therapy. Thanks, BetterHelp.
Oh, and huge thanks to our amazing patrons and members, which make this whole tomfoolery possible. You can support us and also find goodies and detailed instructions for our soda experiment over at patreon.com/MinuteFood. Okay, Arcadi out. Mwah.